Okay, good morning. I will call the Board of Supervisors to meeting to order. We will convene first as drainage trustees. Item number one is approved drainage claims.
You had one claim that was brought before you, which was the Hamilton County Auditor claim for the invoice that was paid in error by Hamilton County in the amount of $4,546.89.
Yes, and we had that on our
Special meeting.
in our claims today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Item number two is approved minutes of the last meeting.
Minutes of the last meeting were December 23rd, 2024. The Wright County Board of Supervisors met in regular session as trustees of the drainage districts with the following members present: Rick Rasmussen and Dean Cluse. Also present were Betty Ellis, Auditor, and Courtney Morris, Drainage Administrator. Other interested parties present were Ashley Bosch. Motion by Cluse and seconded by Rasmussen to call the meeting to order. Motion carried. A conference call with Hamilton County trustees was held to review and act on an invoice paid by the non-control county. Present on conference call were Hamilton County Supervisors, Jerry Cloberdance, Dan Campadilli.
Yep.
And Rick Young and Lori Cloberdance, drainage clerk. Motion by Wright County Dean Cluse, seconded by Wright County Rick Rasmussen to reimburse Hamilton County the sum of $4,546.89 for an invoice paid by Hamilton County to the Tile Pros Inc. for work done in Joint Drainage District 61-99. All ayes, motion carried. Motion by Cluse and seconded by Rasmussen to approve drainage claims for payment. Motion carried. Minutes of the December 16 and December 17, 2024 meetings were read and approved with one correction to the December 17, 2024 meetings or minutes. The minutes were updated to reflect Cluse's motion to call the meeting to order not helpable. There were no work orders needing approval. There were no drainage invoices needing approval. A motion by Cluse and seconded by Rasmussen to adjourn the meeting. Motion carried.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, they'll stand approved as presented. Item number three, act on drainage orders. There were none. Item number four, review and sign any open drainage invoices.
I'm gonna back you up to number one.
Whoops.
Can we do a motion to approve?
Absolutely.
Claims?
So moved.
I have a I will second the motion. I have a motion and a second to approve, claim number 90379, which is, a payment to the Hamilton County Auditor. This is reimbursement as discussed at last week's meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I have an aye from Carl. I put him on speaker again. Motion carried. Invoices.
Okay, back to the invoice. We have received an invoice from Dam Construction for removal of beaver dams in Drainage District 36, Section 20 of Lake Township. That was reported by Linda Anderson and Monty Anderson.
Yep.
This invoice is in the amount of $582.50. And there was 3 dams that were removed.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve, payment of Dam Construction for removal of beaver dams in Drainage District 36, Section 20 of Lake Township. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. DD 36 lateral 3 review repair update and appoint engineer to prepare a report. This is an item that we tabled last week. Again, on Drainage District 36 lateral 3, we had received an estimate from Henniger Construction that the repair would be $48,700. That repair has exceeded the $50,000 threshold, which would have required us to get an engineer's report. I asked to table that to seek legal counsel concerning that. And so far, we have a total on that.
That's total as of the 12:30.
far, the total for work completed as at 12/30/24 is $83,912.50.
And then there's also on there. There's an estimated 30 hours of doze work left and 200 ton of riprap, because there's a lot of sandy pockets where the water's just gushing out. If they're gonna have to riprap it so it doesn't drop. 30 hours of dozing at $6,675. Riprap placement for 200 ton is $5,600. Estimate final total, the final total will come to 96,187.50.
And so do they have a reason why this is
Yeah, he did.
so much over $48,700, the original bid?
We've got pictures here too of what it was like. And here's one of the worst ones. You could see how it was, sloughed off big time.
Yep.
And that's through the whole thing, cause when they did it 5 years ago, you remember how many years it's been? Anyhow, they just dipped it out. They didn't, and that caused it to drop again. They just dipped the very bottom. They didn't do anything to make the slope right, so it wouldn't drop, and the whole thing has dropped.
Okay.
And there's, some tile problem as well, but not a lot. It's mainly the work they had to do to re-slope the whole bank through the whole thing.
So those pictures were pictures that they were provided before any work was started and the estimate was given.
Yes, yes.
They were not able to determine that when they went out to do their estimate.
Apparently not. Came out more than what they expected.
Okay, so, again, I think common sense should rule here. A majority of the work is already done. There is work remaining to be done.
Yes, there's about, 13,000 left to finish it out. And that's tile work, riprap, and dozing. And he's gonna have a drone of what they've done, Courtney, that they'll be getting to you.
So I did not get a firm answer from legal counsel concerning whether or not we have to hire an engineer, for lack of a better term, in the rears. Again, I think it's important for us to inform the landowners of the situation that we're in. And so, I would like to give notification of the landowners in DD 36 lateral 3 and have a meeting with them to find out their desire. But again, it just doesn't hold water with me that we go out and hire an engineer now when the work is, we know what we're gonna do to finish it.
And Danny would have been here to explain it better, but they've been sick and he didn't want to spread crap all over.
Okay.
Otherwise, he would have came and explained the whole situation.
All right, I will expect him to be at the meeting with the landowners, an informational meeting.
How soon would you like that meeting?
Let's make the notifications in accordance with. Isn't there rules on?
You don't want 40 days.
No, we definitely don't want 40 days, but what is the rule? Is it,
It's usually 40 days. It's just an informational, so.
okay,
It can go anytime. Yeah,
it can,
you want it in 2 weeks?
do you know how many people it would cover for DD 36 lateral 3?
I don't.
Okay. 2 weeks should be enough time, I would think,
Okay.
yes.
So,
So we'll schedule that for January on the 13th.
Should she call Dan first to make sure that he's available that day?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and then get back with me if we need to change it to a different date.
Would you like to do it at 9 AM first thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, rather than appointing an engineer to prepare a report, again, I know that it's listed that way on the agenda. We will table appointing an engineer until we talk to the landowners. Okay. Anything else?
There was some concern that was brought up to me, over the weekend in regards to a landowner that has recently bought some property, on 180th Street.
Okay.
Just east of, Highway 69 Blacktop.
Okay.
The landowner is Kent Kippers. There was some concern about some entrances that they had put in, through the ditch and whether or not, and off of the intersection, on whether or not there was any culverts that were previously there or put in when he put it in. So I just wanted to share that information along.
The concern was not from Kent Kibbers, it was
No.
from another landowner.
Landowner in that area.
Okay. Adam, are you aware of the property or any permits that would have been issued for?
I'll double check it, but I
Okay,
don't know.
all right.
Yeah, I haven't heard any.
It should require a
Yeah,
work in the right of way permit
Or entrance permit.
or an
Yeah,
entrance
put it in.
permit, yeah.
So,
So,
It's been way up here. 180, you said 180th?
Yeah,
off of Highway 69,
yeah.
okay.
is that the Alexander Blacktop?
No, it's
No.
before that. It's
Okay.
the extension of the blacktop that takes you down to the lake,
Oh, okay.
Late,
Yep.
it goes this way.
To the east,
to the east,
Yeah.
yeah.
east of Highway 69.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That's it.
Hearing nothing else, Carl, did you have any questions for Courtney? I would accept the motion to adjourn as drainage trustees.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn as drainage trustees. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We'll now convene as the Board of Supervisors. You have the agenda before you.
I'll approve the tentative agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Betty, if you would read the minutes of the December 23rd meeting, please.
I'll give these to Courtney.
4. The Board of Supervisors met as Drainage District trustees to view the minutes from the drainage meeting. See the Drainage District minutes on the county website. Chairman Pro Tem Clute held a regular meeting of the Wright County Board of Supervisors order at 9:10 a.m. Members present were Clute and Rasmussen with held votes absent. Motion by Rasmussen, seconded by Clute to approve the tentative agenda. Motion carries. Minutes of the previous regular meeting was read and approved. Approved claims for payment. 3 members of the Wellness Committee attended a meeting in Des Moines concerning the wellness program. Wright County is currently getting 5% discount for fiscal year and 2025 health insurance rates, giving a $86,966.40 savings. Due to participation in the wellness program again, Wright County will get 5% on the fiscal year 26 premiums. Motion by Clute, seconded by Rasmussen to continue with the ISAC wellness program and have the president of the wellness committee sign. Motion carries. Adam Clemens, Wright County Engineer, gave an update on secondary roads. Staff went out twice on hard surface roads for the snow events. The crews cooperated with conservation on apple tree removal on O'Brien Avenue. Motion by Rasmussen, second by Clute to adjourn the meeting. Motion carries.
Any additions or corrections, other than the spelling
The
correction?
two
Yep.
typos that I had. Thank you.
Okay, they'll stand approved as read. Claims have been around. Open forum for public input. Do you have anybody who would like to address the board? Okay. Item number 12, review and take action on the Central Iowa Juvenile Detention Center amendment to the 28E agreement. This was presented to the board, I think 2 weeks ago, possibly 3 weeks ago, and was tabled, so that we could compare the current 28E agreement to the previous 28E agreement. We've had all questions concerning any changes made to that, answered. And so I would accept a motion to approve, the 28E agreement dated 3/24/23.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All ayes. Motion is carried. Item number 13, Adam Clemens, Wright County Engineer. Engineering roads update. Good morning.
Yep. Quick update there, blades are out, still burning ditches last week if they could. Did some blading last week, so, because the temps were a little bit higher, so, the guys were out, finding some spot blading that they needed to do, on some washboarding that was still out and about. They did work on, pull behind to, break down some of the, windrows. They made some windrows, did some shoulder cutting last week also. So in zone 1 with our pull behind drag. Trucks did some sundry. Work orders 8 were done. Wanted to give you kind of a year end of review. 792 work orders were completed this year. If you would like a breakdown, I can get that to you. And then also we hauled 84,123 tons of granular.
Wow.
This year. So, pretty good year. I think it's, I've seen, us haul over 100,000, but obviously that's probably a bad year for the FEMAs. So we did have a FEMA year, but it wasn't that, big of an issue. And then we also had a rain event, so, about anywhere from 3/4 of an inch to an inch, across the county. So.
Sure. Any questions for Adam?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey. Old business.
What? I think I may have missed to put somebody on the agenda. Yes,
Oh.
I did. We can listen to them, it doesn't, we.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
The Fair Board,
Yes.
okay?
It's gonna tip with all you guys piled on.
Thank you.
Yep.
Always have good representation.
You might give one of those to Ashley, please.
Oh, we got. Thank you.
Well, we're here, for our annual visit with you to share a little bit about our 2024 year in review. It was a character building year of review, I would say. As you can see, the front cover looks a little different from years past when it was loaded with pictures of kids and things happening, and there still were kids and things happening at the fair, because we're very proud to say that even though 2 days before the fair was supposed to start, the ground's flooded. And this is an aerial picture of what it looked like when we came back to the grounds Monday morning. So, the board was working so hard ahead of time, and the grounds were looking probably the best I remember them looking in a very long time. They had planted a ton of trees. They had, put in a new cement pad in front of the free stage for a pedal pole track. They had done a lot of things to spruce up the grounds, and the board president came in the office and he said, "I hate to say this, but I really feel like we're ahead of schedule." I said, "Yep, we are, but don't say that too loud." Then Saturday, we had the first initial rainstorm and hailstorm. And I think my first phone call after that was, "How do my flowers look?" Because the flowers were already on the grounds. Thankfully, they were up against the building and they were protected enough that they recovered. But then on Sunday, we were on the grounds. A few of us were still in the office, Still working, finishing up a couple projects in the office when I would call it a deluge. I don't know. It was a downpour that I've never heard in the office before. It was a noise that I'd never heard before, a sound I'd never heard before in that office. And we looked out the window, and we couldn't even see out the window. And that continued for some time. And we actually, two of us stood in the office window and watched the water rise. And it was very disheartening because the grounds were so well kept and so well put together. That when I finally could get enough of a break to run to my car, I was in ankle deep water already when I ran to my car. And then, of course, when the storm was done and a few people drove through the fairgrounds, took a few pictures, the president said we better meet tomorrow morning. So we met as a board the next morning, and the conversation never centered around should we have a fair. The conversation centered around always how can we have a fair. And so I'm very blessed to work with a group of 13 board members that have that mindset, because they very easily could have said, you know, these buildings are underwater, we can't get campers in here, the grandstand's flooded, I don't know how we're gonna have a fair, where are we gonna put these food vendors? We could have very easily had that mindset and just said, sorry, we're not gonna have a fair. But as our theme is how sweet it is to work with board members like this that have that mindset for how can we do this and what can we do to make it happen? Because it wasn't about us at that point, it was about all the kids and the community members that were looking forward to that. So we sat in the office that morning. I honestly didn't even want to get out of bed that morning because I'd seen what the grounds looked like. But I got out, and within the first 5 minutes of the conversation in that boardroom, it was kind of an enlightenment to know that we can do this. So got one of the old A-frame boards out that had a whiteboard on one side, set it up on my desk, and we started very poorly drawing the fairgrounds and started talking about where could we put things and what could we do to make this happen. And so you'll see a picture there on your second page of that very poorly written whiteboard that we worked from. But then it became, okay, if we're gonna put this entertainer there, they need a 50 amp plug. Do we have a 50 amp plug there? We didn't have a map of the electrical on the grounds. So one board member left the office, trudged through the water, got to that side of the fairgrounds, looked, yes, we have a 50 amp plug, so we could put that entertainer there. This food stand needs this kind of plug. Do we have that? I know we have that on the side of the free stage. We could put that food stand there. So you'll see on the bottom part, the last picture down there shows how we moved a kid's show over by the 4-H building so he could plug into the camper plugs on the side of the 4-H building. We moved the ice cream lady over by the side of the free stage because she needed a plug that we had there. We moved another food vendor over kind of behind where the old free stage was, just to keep them on hard surface roads, because we knew if we pulled them off of the hard surface roads, it wasn't going to be good. They weren't going to come out for a while. So the other picture that you'll see there is fair board members going in by foot instead of using equipment, but they went in by foot, trudged through the water in the grandstand and pulled out by hand some of the bleachers that were in there so we could move them around the grounds as well. So how sweet it is to have such hardworking board members and such caring community members. And then the phone calls started coming in, channel 13, channel 8, channel 5, and we thought, wow, we're pretty important, we're pretty special. But in hindsight, all of those news reports, all people heard was our grounds are flooded. And so then in hindsight, people didn't come because they were either cleaning out their basement and so exhaustively tired and didn't want to come out when it was 120 degrees in the shade, or they heard you're flooded. So we're not coming to the fair. So our attendance was down drastically, I would say. But the people that were there were so appreciative and so thankful and so willing to help. So all in all, we also started getting phone calls from people. How can I help? What equipment? Here's the equipment I have. What can I bring? What can I do? In fact, to the point of not only was I getting phone calls, but all of them were getting phone calls as well. So we were getting phone calls from other county fairs. We had a neighboring county fair offer their buildings and grounds if we wanted to completely move the fair to somewhere else. We've had other fairs willing to come and help. We'll bring our board, we'll bring our manpower. We had farmers, we had community members, we had lots of people willing to help, and lots of people did help. So all in all we really had to do was cancel one grandstand event. We had to cancel the rodeo because we couldn't get the people in yet into the seating area. We delayed the campers by a few days, but they still got to come in and they still got to be a part of the fair. And we had to delay the cattle arrival by 1 day. And if you saw what that cattle barn looked like when we first took a look at it, delaying the cattle by 1 day was amazing. Once we got the water to move and to move its way out and use pumps to keep it moving, they worked together to dig out all of the old drowned wood chips that were in there. They had huge fans from several people and they dried it out overnight. And Corey, I don't know how many trips he made down to get more semi-loads full of wood chips to help out, but we really only delayed the cattle by coming in by 1 day. So it was pretty amazing what had to happen and what did happen with the help of a bunch of volunteers. But it truly was a lot of social media posts. It was a lot of communication. And in the mix of all of that, our phone in the office quit working because of the water. So people couldn't call us and ask questions. The only communication out we had was through our social media pages. So like we said at the beginning, it was a character builder, but how sweet it is to know that we had a fair and that it was very successful. Very successful from the standpoint of 148 4-H and FFA livestock exhibitors, which is an increase from the year previous. 83 non-livestock exhibitors, so those that were in the static building, which was an increase from the year before. Just over 910 different livestock and non-livestock exhibits, which was an increase from the year before. We had 24 participants in the Little Miss and Mr. contest. That was about the same as the year before. 39 bucket cap participants, an increase in that as well. 25 little squealer participants, an increase as well. And 6 novice lamb participants, an increase. So all of those numbers for the people that were participating and the number of exhibits that were participating, all but one were an increase from the year before. And we had another great turnout for the kiddie pedal tractor pull, and they loved their new cement pad. We called it the pedal pull track, right in the front of the free stage. So we were able to use some of that shaded area up front there. And they had their own track at the front of the stage. The board continued to work with Emerge Marketing this past summer. That has been a great partnership with that company to help us become better at social media and where we're placing our ads and where the people are trying to find that information about the fair. Emerge also did a bunch of our brand marketing for us last year, so everything looked the same. We didn't have different things happening for different avenues that we were using for advertising. So we're going to continue to work with them in the future, and we've got lots of county fairs across the state of Iowa asking us about our partnership with them. We continue to give scholarships across the county. We offer 3 scholarships every year, and this past year the winners of those scholarships were Sawyer Moracle, Noelle Kovacs, and Elizabeth Hodson. So we're pleased with that, and the scholarship application for 2025 will be out real soon. So if you know of someone that's graduating in 2025, have them watch for that, because that is now a $500 scholarship that we give out to each of those individuals. The sponsorship program, which we're very proud of, was in its 21st year this past year, and it exceeded our expectations once again. The board kept asking, how are we doing? How are we doing? And I intentionally did not tell them how we were doing. Board president and I, Rodney, were in communications to know how it was doing, but I did not tell them until after the fair was over. But we had another record year in that program as well. We raised just over $124,000, almost $125,000 through that program, which brings the grand total over $1,200,000 for that program in its 21 years of existence. That is a program that, had we not started 21 years ago, I'm not sure where the fair would be today. But it also is a program that shows us how much the community supports the Wright County Fair and how much everybody wants to be a part of the Wright County Fair. So how sweet it is and how appreciative we are with that. Every board member has a list of people that they contact. We also still have a former board member that helps us. And you'll see him in the picture there. He has one of the larger lists that he contacts and continues to help us grow that program. Besides the sponsorship program, we continue our extended premium program, which is this past year was in its 5th year. It doesn't feel like it's been that long, but when I looked up the statistics, it was the 5th year that we had that program, and it raised just over $14,000. And that $14,000, every penny of it gets paid back to our exhibitors on a prorated basis. So we're pleased with that, for them to get a little extra premium money as they participate in the Wright County Fair. We also started a fair foundation 12 years ago. I went and looked up that number as well. It didn't feel like it was that many years ago, but apparently that tells me I'm getting old. So 12 years ago, we started that fair foundation. Every year we put a little bit of money into that. And it's currently over $36,000, and we keep that there as a place to build and provide for the future of the fair. So it's something that we're kind of tucking away a little bit each year to help continue to grow that. And we continue to promote ways of supporting the fair beyond our sponsorship program and our extended premium program. I just heard a news story on the national news this morning about charitable giving between now and the end of the year. You've got 2 days to do that, but you know, a few bushels of grain from this fall, or if you're a Thrivent member, the Thrivent Choice Dollars have been very beneficial for us. You can designate those choice dollars to an entity, a nonprofit organization that is listed, and we are one of the ones that's listed in the Thrivent company. Consider just a year-end donation to the Wright County Fair. And also another thing that has been very beneficial to us that we started probably 3 years ago is called the Wall of Honor. There's currently 11 names on that wall, and we have 3 more names to add for 2024. So people who are giving memorial money in memory and in honor of their loved ones. We continue to partner with the corn growers to enhance our herdsmanship program. They provide the t-shirts for the overall winning club, as well as the prizes for the clubs winning in each barn. Our veterans program is something that's very popular. It was started, this was our 10th annual program. And I really enjoy now how in the last several years, we've had our Wright County 4-H'ers really be an integral part of that, because I think it's an avenue, just like we say at school here in Clarion, it's our way of educating youth about the importance of that and having them be a part of that. I have kids now that call me and ask, can I help? Can I help? They've been a part of it in the years in the past, and they want to continue to help. So we're pleased with that. And this past year, we recognized just about 50 veterans during that program. We also continue to partnership. Let's see, I lost my place here. Oh, Scott Amusements. Dean, you'll remember back when we did not have a carnival, and we went from fair to fair. In fact, that story just got told this couple weekends ago down at convention. Ran into Vicki Smith, and she was telling people of how we were at every one of their carnival stops until they finally agreed to come to the Wright County Fair. But now we're continuing to partner with Scott Amusements. And the fun part about it was that many years ago, we felt like we were begging someone to be a carnival. And now the instant we sat down with Scott Amusements in their room to talk about the contract for next year and what it would look like, the conversation from Scott Amusements was this county fair, and this county fair are waiting to hear what the Wright County Fair is going to do.
That's good.
And then we'll fill in our dates after that. So it felt great to know that we were on that side of the conversation instead of on the begging side of the conversation. We've built that relationship with a carnival and have proven that we are a viable county fair, that we now have dates penciled in with them out through 2029.
Good.
So we're very pleased with that. As Board President Ronnie said, come heck or high water, I suppose we're gonna continue to have a carnival with them for the next several years at least, so that's awesome. This past summer, we had 4 events scheduled in the grandstand, but as I said earlier, we had to cancel Wright Rodeo, which was one of our biggest events that we've always had. So we lost out on some revenue from that, but the other 3 events were still able to happen. You can see from the picture that it was just the very end of the truck and tractor pull track that was flooded. So we were able to get that dried out and able to host the NTPA truck and tractor pull. We were able to bring in the concert on Saturday night, which the opener was Drew Baldridge. But if you've heard recently, Drew Baldridge has had a lot of top 30 hits in the last several weeks, and he's working to get another one. So he was an up and comer that has hit a few things right before he came to the fair, and he opened for Casey Donahue. And then on Sunday afternoon, we brought in the Central Iowa truck pullers just because we'd had a lot of requests from local pullers to be able to pull. So we had that on Sunday afternoon. The Grandstand Beer Garden was in its 4th year in existence this past summer, and the profit from that was about $11,000. We were down 1 night of entertainment, so we felt like that was pretty good compared to what we had had in the past, knowing that we had 1 night that wasn't its full grandstand entertainment. Still continue to host a lot of free stage events, and a lot of people tell us it feels like a little mini state fair because there's something happening going all the time. Things like the Bill Riley Talent Show, Kids Science Safari was in the Kid Zone, the Ninja Experience, Louie's Comedy Circus, Malik's Fisherman Polka Band were some other different things that we had, as well as the Barrel Train and the Foam Party. We don't really understand what the hype is about the foam party, but lots of kids love it. So we do it every once and again, and we'll take a break from it this next summer, but we'll bring it back probably at some point in time. But lots of different entertainment that's happening around the grounds at all times. Very pleased to continue to work with Lynn Anderson, and you'll see a picture of him there with one of his, of course, one of my favorite of his carvings, the Iowa State carving that he did. As well as we continue to work with Art U Creative and Preppy Farmer and Sally's Sewing Room for the quilt block class. So the auction of the wood carvings, the quilt, and the pallet challenge brought in just over $5,100. So we were pleased with that. The crowd was not as large because Sunday afternoon it was 120 in the shade. It was beastly hot that day. Yeah, I don't think you could walk outside without having sweat rolling out that day. So some things that we did around the grounds, as I had said earlier when we started, that there were lots of improvements around the grounds happening. The board worked together. It was a major feat, but it was very fun to work together, and we planted 12 new trees around the grounds. And then a 13th one was added after the fair. It was donated in memory of Don Grand George. We also framed and installed a new cement pad in front of the free stage, as we talked about. Hired someone to install steel on Commercial Building 1, and if you've not seen the look of Commercial Building 1, it's a completely different looking building, much nicer building in the middle of our grounds. We did some revamping in the rabbit barn to allow for more exhibitors. Of course, continued electrical work around the grounds. I'm not sure that will ever end. And continued work on the roadways. We feel like we add more and more rock every year, but it is just the area through the grounds, and especially through the center of the grounds, is so heavily traveled throughout all year long that we can't ever get enough rock in that area. So those were some of the big things that we did this past year. And the future projects, of course, there's still a lot in the works, but continued electrical projects, partnering with the city of Eagle Grove to get some better electric over by, the carnival area as they are working on the rec center over there. More poultry cages have been ordered because we were out of poultry cages. The poultry department is growing. We, of course, we have in the back of our minds, the whole new look to the grandstand. That probably got pushed back farther in our minds now after last year, as the rainy day fund completely was depleted last year. Along with many other thoughts and ideas still bouncing around the grounds, but lots of things happening and a very forthcoming fair board that has lots of ideas that they want to continue to see happen, and a hardworking fair board that doesn't just hire all of the projects out. They work together and get a lot of things done together. We're excited to announce our theme, our fair theme for 2025. This is, as we continue to work with Emerge Marketing, we're getting more and more things done ahead of time, and we're pleased to tell you that our logo and our theme are already ready to go for next year. Our theme for next year is homegrown. And so we really feel that that highlights the work of all of our 4-H and FFA exhibitors putting into preparing for the fair, because everything is homegrown right here in Wright County. And so we're pleased with that, and we're excited about that. And we want you to know that the dates of next year's fair are July 8th through the 13th, 2025. We added that extra day starting on Tuesday this past year and are pleased with that. So we'll continue to do that. We'll start on a Tuesday and end on a Sunday then. So thank you so much for your time today. If you have any questions, there's all the board members are listed there. But with me today, Brad Grandgeorge is our vice president, Matt Schreiber, Lillian Swanson, and Corey Tweeten are with us today. Last year I missed one, so I'm gonna make sure. But the rest of them had either family engagements or some health things that were that they were working on today, so we're not able to be with us. But all of us and them send you a thank you for your support in the past. County funding continues to be integral for us. And I know our letter from you last year stated, it kind of gave us a little bit of a warning and a little bit of a heads up that things might be being cut. But we had a really tough year. A really tough year. And so if there's any way that you can continue to show us some of that support, because we know the costs of everything continue to rise. Everything from judges to entertainment to insurance. I just sat in on a session, just had a conversation with our insurance provider, not us, but he had heard of other fairs having their insurance costs rise 30 to 50% again, and everybody's feeling that, right? I was with my friend Joe, and she had a call from a farmer. His insurance was raising 70%. So we all know that those things are happening, but that's just continued expenses that make it very difficult for us to continue to do what we do. So we feel like the support for the fair is really high within and around the entire county, and that's shown through the support of our sponsorship program and our extended premium programs. It's shown through the amount of volunteers that came out of the woodwork to help us make the 2024 fair happen. There were way too many hours and way too many people to even to begin to count, but the volunteers were endless. The positive feedback from all fairgoers in attendance, thanking us for having a fair in 2024. I think there was more that I heard positive feedback in 2024 than we did in 2020. And so that goes to show about the support and your verbal and financial commitments to us in the past show the support. Just remember that this is a countywide celebration of our agricultural heritage. And it's a celebration of all the hard work of our 4-H and FFA members that's been preparing all year long. So please consider some type of funding for us, because this is a very popular celebration. And it's a positive celebration and a positive outlet for youth development. There's so many things that we all know we have to do on the reactionary side for youth development, but this is a positive outlet for youth development. And really, we can say this is our fair, right? This isn't my fair or their fair. We're just caretakers. We're here doing what we feel is right, but this is our county fair that we are proud of. And I think everyone in the county can be very proud of that, but we can't continue to do the things that we do without your support. So a few more of the kid pictures down there, and some of the volunteer pictures that came, to help out down at the bottom of that page. The next page shows the county funding from the report that we got from the Association of Iowa Fairs to show the different avenues and the different local fairs in our area of what the county funding was in 2024. So a couple of years ago, you said you appreciated that list, so I've continued to provide that for you. And at the very bottom, that is a picture we made the fair board do a quick little video at the very end of the fair showing how we were just like the green floppy guy and we were about ready to flop over. But we made the reel to the song How Sweet It Is. And then that was the end of that video that we had been successful in making sure the fair happened in 2024. And then at the very end, you'll see several of the receipts or the bills that we have paid for some of the different projects. The amount of money that it costs to install the steel on commercial building 1, as well as some of the electrical bills that we have had. And of course, all of the rock, and more rock. So we do appreciate that Adam is always very willing to help and support and truck that for us. And we pay for the rock. So we do appreciate that as a county entity as well. So, and one more thing I just want to highlight, I hate to go back to the negative, the flood, but when you see that aerial picture, you see a lot of green grass there, right? But what that doesn't show is the saturation in all of those other areas. You couldn't walk through any area of the grounds without having your foot completely submerged in water. So when that photo was taken, you see a lot of green grass, but if you stepped in that green grass, you would have had a wet foot. So
When you brought the campers in, were you able to use the campground? It looked like only the northwestern area was
so
really saturated.
So when we delayed them by a couple days, and we did have a few campers that were larger that still were not comfortable coming in, we rolled their money over into 2025. The part we were not comfortable with is you'll see that the roadway going out there between the grandstand out to the south camping area was covered with running water. And we were not comfortable bringing campers in unless that running water was done, because we didn't want kids running across that running water.
Right.
And so you'll even see that we were even worried about the horse show because a third of the horse arena was underwater when we first started. But we were able to do enough of the games and things up on that south end of it to still continue to have the horse show.
We also did not put campers up by the office this year. It was
Okay.
just too saturated there, so that was off limits there too, so.
The other question I had for you is, do you still have an auction, or the auction is, you don't have an auction, correct?
Livestock auction?
Right,
No, that's all run through that extended premium program.
All right.
So kids are marketing their animals, they're selling their animals. We're very lucky to have the locker here in town hold a bunch of spots. And so they're marketing their animals to people. And if they're unable to market that, we always tell them to contact their superintendent.
Right.
The superintendent will help with that.
Okay.
So that's where those extended premium dollars go. We felt that that was a much more equitable way to get everyone something through that extended premium program
Okay.
beyond their initial premiums.
Especially with the hogs being non-terminal show now. The other thing is livestock is becoming a lot more expensive to raise.
yeah,
So we're seeing, especially in the cattle side, but also on the hog side, we're seeing such a shift from market animals into breeding animals. Well, those breeding animals were never able to participate in the sale
Right.
anyway. This gives all those exhibitors still a chance to get some extra cash.
okay. Very good. Well, you guys do a great job. Again, we will endeavor to support you in any way that we can. I'll remind you, as I've reminded everybody who's coming here so far, House File 718 has changed the game. I mean, limited growth, and I'm sure, that you all understand that, but again, we recognize how important this is, the dollars that it brings into the, county, because it's not just, I know it's county participation and surrounding kids that can participate in it, but it's all of the grandparents and everything that goes along with the fair. I mean, it's a big economic impact, so
Yep.
we appreciate it.
And you've always done an awesome job, especially this year with the troubles you had. It was
Yeah.
still great.
Yeah.
You did a beautiful job.
I think we were very lucky that we were ahead of schedule. Because then it allowed us to attack the flood. When it happened.
Okay. Carl, did you have any questions?
No question, but you did a heck of a job this year for the situation you had at the, rock that came about.
Yeah, we can't control everything, and
Definitely
so-
not the weather.
Can't control that, but, well, we hope that we don't have one of those anytime soon again.
All right. Well, thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
in.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Thanks for your time.
Apologize for not getting that.
No,
It was so long ago we talked about it.
I know.
didn't write it in my book, so my bad.
okay, sorry.
My bad.
Sorry.
Oh, good. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you for still
Thank you.
giving us time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, did you get mine?
Thank you.
Yes, I did.
Thank you.
I can't wait.
Thanks.
Love you too.
Thanks, Rick.
You got it. Thank you.
You're good now.
You know me, I always am.
Yeah.
Okay, any other, meetings?
Nothing because of the holidays.
Right, same thing for me. Okay, I would accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, Carl.
Take care.
See ya.
Thanks.